Hi everybody, Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity, and as you are already aware of, on May 26th of 2025 this year, the world lost a great man in the way of the passing of Rick Derringer. Rick was great in his work with the McCoys, as well as his solo work with Rock and Roll Hoochie Koo and production work with people like Alice Cooper and Edgar and Johnny Winter. He's a great man, underappreciated, undervalued in my opinion, and really is a shame that he was not inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. No slight against the guys at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I really think that that was something that should have been done a long time ago. Be that as it may, what you're about to hear in this audio, and if you're watching this on YouTube, it's a slideshow set to audio, of my interview with Rick Derringer back in April of 2009. Now, let me set this up for you. I was already in the process of being about to launch Boomerocity. It hadn't launched yet on the internet. In those days, I interviewed people, or was going to be interviewing people, transcribing the interview, and putting the written version of it out there for everybody to read. Zoom wasn't happening yet, things of that nature. So very old school. And once I determined that I was going to be launching Boomerocity, I had the idea I might talk to a couple of artists that I had access to or thought I had access to. And one of those people was Rick Derringer, because he would often be at the Dallas International Guitar Festival, which I like to attend, only just to see the stuff and see the bands playing. I'm not a musician. And so through some persistence, I had it set up to meet with Rick at a hotel restaurant that was closed in the mid-afternoon. We sat down and I recorded that conversation. Rick, and I'll stop right there and say, I hadn't listened to that audio since I transcribed it. So it's been over 16 years since I listened to this audio, and I'd honestly forgotten what all was in there. I just remembered talking to Rick, and he was a cool guy. Well, my eyes were reopened by listening to this interview, because he was very kind, very gracious, very deep in his answers to the questions I was asking, and he was treating me as a professional. Now, keep in mind, at that point, I had not published anything out on the internet involving Boomerocity. I was totally unknown. And so for the fact that somebody of the stature of Rick Derringer to sit with me was stunning to me. And he treated me very kind, very graciously, and as I said, gave very, very good in-depth answers to my questions. Not only that, and I edited this out because there was some private information being exchanged as far as contact info goes. But during that interview, he even gave me the contact information to reach the people handling his good friends Johnny Winter and Edgar Winter. And eventually, I got those interviews as well. And that was all because of Rick Derringer. So with the passing of Rick, I just wanted to honor his memory by offering to you, the fellow fans of Rick's, this audio, and maybe it'll bring back some memories for you. If nothing else, just further solidify your admiration for this great artist. And so without any further ado, here is my interview. My second interview conducted for Boomerocity. The first one was Barry McGuire. The second interview I conducted for Boomerocity over 16 years ago, and that was with the great Rick Derringer. So until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Rest in peace, Rick. All right, I've got it running, and I'll just leave this right here, and we'll forget about that thing.
Good deal.
The way I want to structure this, Rick, is... and besides, how much time do I have?
I don't have an exact time, but
okay.
I'm sure it'll go faster than you thought.
Okay, good deal. Well, I'm fairly organized here. The way I'd like to do is cover, how business is going for you here at the show, vintage guitar business in general, your other ventures,
and then talk about your new CD and,
Yeah.
and your other work, and then some Boomer generation related questions, because
Okay.
my website that I'm launching in a couple weeks is Boomerocity.com, and I want to focus on our demographic
Okay.
and have people find out what everybody's been up
Good.
to. So, how is the show going for you? by the
Very
way?
good. I mean, I come here more than anything to just do my concert, be part of this great roster of guitar players, and Jimmy Wallace, who runs the show, is also a good, strong Christian, and I like to help him out. One of my favorite parts of the show is Sunday morning before the show starts. We have church over there,
That's what I
and
heard.
that's one of my favorite parts. So I come here for a lot of kind of other reasons that aren't necessarily connected to selling guitars. On the other hand, I do work with Warrior guitars. We've created a Rick Derringer signature model
I saw that.
guitar, and I always spend quite a bit of time with them at their booth showing people that guitar.
How's sales going on that?
They do pretty well. It's a custom guitar company. They make them by hand. You don't see them in many music stores, so it's a kind of a smaller number of sales than like a Paul Reed Smith or something like that. They can only, Paul Reed Smith I think makes about 70 a day at this point, and we make about I think 30 in a month, which
It's still pretty good volume.
still pretty good volume, but and they're all other guitars as well as the Rick Derringer model.
Right.
But people that play it enjoy it, and because of that, most of them that are really ready to buy a guitar, after they play it, will buy that one.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Now, you also have a vintage guitar business, too, do you not?
Yeah, well, always in my life, I've been a lover of toys. A new guitar to me is a toy.
Yeah.
And so I enjoy acquiring the new guitars. So what I usually do is I take my old ones and I play them for a while, and they end up sitting somewhere in a vault or somewhere, and eventually I sell those old ones so that I can get more new ones. And that has turned into being really a kind of a business over the years. So I always have the guitars in my collection, and whenever I put a few up for sale, they seem to go pretty fast, and we always supply a certificate with them saying that they're from my collection, and that adds a little bit to the value as well.
Absolutely. Now, you're into some other stuff, too, right? Aren't you doing, like, real estate in Florida?
Oh, my wife and I are both realtors, and we have little land things that we work on all the time, too. I have a full life.
It sounds like it.
I have a full life.
Is touring a big chunk of that, or?
Touring this year is less. This year I decided to just really tell my agent that I was retiring from concerts.
Really?
And he chose that as an opportunity to say, well, if I got you this much money, would that mean we could still get you out there? And I said, yeah. But it was a considerably more, it was quite a bit more than I have previously charged. So I didn't expect to get any gigs, frankly. I just said, okay, I will put it in the hands of the Lord, and He will provide. And in what has happened is He has. Just by not having as much of my time tied up traveling, I've been able to work on a lot of other kinds of projects, albums, CDs, things like that. And also then just devoting time to properly focusing on our business, and because we also look to manage other artists and produce other records and things like that too. So we have a few gigs coming up this summer. I have one in May 23rd in Linden, Texas, and then a couple later in the summer as well. But they're always publicized at rickderringer.com.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll point people to that.
Yeah, very good.
Now, I'm going to jump ahead because you've already brought it up, and I want to focus on this too. I'm a fellow believer as well, so
Yeah, great.
I was thrilled to hear that you had became a believer. I only discovered it a couple years ago.
Oh, that's good. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter
I
when.
mean, I've been a Christian all my life. I only discovered that you were.
Oh, I
a couple
see.
years ago.
I gotcha.
So how has your faith affected your relationships in the industry and with other artists, especially like Edgar Winter and his?
It hasn't hurt anything. It hasn't hurt at all. As a matter of fact, the idea is for some of me to rub off on them.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's what we're really most excited about. That's the idea. Then none of them. I mean, if all of a sudden I changed as a person and my music started sucking, they'd all have a pretty bad impression.
Blame it on it, wouldn't
yeah.
it?
But in reality, what happens is, you're still the same person you always were. The Lord loves us then; He loves us now.
Yeah.
And music doesn't have to get worse. As a matter of fact, your conscience being freed up just lightens your load, so that your creativity and music can soar.
Yep.
And that's what I've found, and people are excited about hearing that.
Mm-hmm.
So it hasn't turned anybody off, and as a matter of fact, I have people telling me all the time they appreciate seeing my testimony on the website, and we're actually spreading that more all the time rather than less, and that helps people see that they can, they're not alone.
Right.
The Lord can help me, He can help them, and that's the message that we have.
Well, I read your testimony on the website, and powerful. I mean, to take you from the edge of despair.
Yeah.
And pull you back and put a wonderful woman in your life, it sounds like.
It's amazing.
And if we just cry out, He'll answer, won't He?
Yeah. And just live by faith, live by faith. Because the Lord will provide, He will take care. But like this year, for instance, like I said, I raised my price pretty drastically, and all of a sudden, I was turning down some shows, and my road manager, because they were for less than I asked for, and my road manager called me up, and he was a little concerned. We're turning down this show coming up. This is a good concert, and I explained to him, look, I put it in the hands of the Lord. And I told the Lord I have faith that He will provide what we see as necessary.
Right.
And I said, if all of a sudden we take the first gig that comes along that is way less than what I asked the Lord for, what kind of faith is that?
That's right.
What kind of faith does that show? No, you have to have the faith.
Right.
I mean, you can't just pretend.
Right.
It has to be real. And as long as you put your faith in the Lord, He will provide for us.
Absolutely. Are you getting any interest from what I hate to call it this way, but church circles for your work?
Well, we haven't really tried to go out there and shoot for that, but slowly.
Because you're a different kind of gig.
Yeah, and I do have more churches and stuff though that are coming around and asking me to perform and things like that. But here's what happened when I first started doing kind of more Christian-based music and changing some of my songs to reflect that standing. I was a little concerned about the kind of shows when we play for biker events, and I don't play anymore too much, but at the time we were playing bars and those kind of venues, and I was a little concerned, so I asked my pastors at that time for their advice, and what they told me was that really look at it as the opportunity that the Lord has given me. If I go into a church, play for a bunch of believers,
preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly reinforces their belief system, but once again, they're saved.
Right.
You're preaching to the choir.
One would assume they're saved.
Yeah. And on the other hand, the places I just mentioned where I play, they won't necessarily ever invite a Christian artist to play at those places.
Right.
So I'm able to go in there totally with their approval, and they're even paying me, and play my concert and throw in a few songs that now have been changed to reflect that Christian standpoint, and I'm given that opportunity that nobody else has. So I'm able to go in there and deliver, just do what Jesus said to do. Be that light in the real world and deliver that message. And even if some people don't hear the lyrics, if they just, if I'm reflecting Jesus to that audience, and they should be able to feel that and see it.
You're reflecting the spirit of the song.
Yeah. And it works. That they said you should be doing that. That's a responsibility that you've been given, and you should honor it.
I agree.
So that's what we do.
I think we're seeing the same thing with Alice Cooper. I know you've done some work with him, but with him and his conversion in the last few years, I mean, again, having to take,
Yeah.
the more subtle approach, but people know where he's coming from. His book
Yeah.
reflects that,
Yeah.
things like that.
We call ourselves double agents for the Lord,
There you
and
go.
we're working behind the enemy lines.
That's great. Back on the vintage guitar business, how's the economy affecting all that?
I think it's affecting everything, not just vintage guitar business. It definitely affects everything. I mean, we all heard that people thought they had money. They thought they had invested wisely in real estate, and they looked at that equity as their nest egg.
Right.
And they looked at themselves as affluent. As soon as that disappeared, as soon as that nest egg all of a sudden became apparently gone, that affluence that they felt was gone too. So all of a sudden when people felt like they had money they could spend for whatever it was, they don't feel like that anymore.
Right.
So I think it's definitely affected the vintage guitar business from one point of view. Now here's the other side of the coin. People are nervous about putting their money in real estate. They're nervous about putting it in stocks. And there are some things that have intrinsic value that will not go away.
Rare.
One of those things is rare instruments. And from that point of view, people that see that are still there, and they're actually looking to buy up instruments right now when they're cheaper, a little cheaper.
Are the foreign investors still strong in that market? Or
I think so, yep.
where are you seeing most of that activity coming from?
They're still the same areas. It's a worldwide business. Certainly the Japanese like to come over and
Right.
and take the guitars back over there. But it's a worldwide business.
Yes. And the web helps drive a lot of that.
Yes,
doesn't it?
certainly does.
Do you see this turning around anytime soon as far as the relative squishiness of the market?
Frankly, no. I don't see it changing anytime soon. Just the way things look in the real world. If you try to be, frankly, as honest as you can't see where things are going to turn around quickly. On the other hand, human beings, Americans, whatever you want to call us, are strong, resilient people. And as long as you don't watch that news all the time and just live inside that kind of
Negative bubble.
valley of depression,
Yeah.
negative bubble, you'll go on with your life just like you always have, and you'll struggle to make ends meet and survive, and that's not going to change. So I don't see the end necessarily soon, but it will end. We're a vibrant, hustling people. That's what Americans do.
Entrepreneurial. We
Yeah.
make things happen.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to change things up again. Like I said, let's talk about your new disc.
Yeah.
What's
Knighted by the Blues, it's
Yeah.
called. It's on Blues Bureau International Records. I've done, this will be the 5th one for them. And each time, in some ways, they've given me a little more freedom. But Mike Varney, the president of the company, really is a very strong president. He has his definite ideas. He's a guitar player himself. He wants to make records for guitar players, and he wants somehow to, make sure his interests are protected. He helps you choose songs for the records and things like that. And this is the first one where he's actually allowed me just to go ahead and do it without his. I did it in the studio where I like to record as opposed to his turf. I used the musicians that I like as opposed to the ones he likes. I chose all the material myself as opposed to him having any input. And from that point of view, it certainly reflects more what I look at as a blues CD. And that is not necessarily the strict old-timey kind of blues. It's a different kind of blues CD.
how would you categorize it?
It is a little more current. The songs are more relevant to subjects that I think are current. It doesn't rely as much on just old songs, too. It's not as many covers there. And the covers that I have done, I am personally fond of, as opposed to somebody else just saying, well, I think everybody else is going to like this song.
Right.
I've done Jimi Hendrix, If 6 Was 9, which is a song that I always enjoyed. We changed the lyrics just enough to make them reflective of my Christianity, and it's one that not a lot of people have covered, so it's one that people will find refreshing. I did a very rare Ray Charles song that I don't know that, I think only one other person has ever even recorded it as far as I know. Diana, not Crawl. Oh, doesn't matter. But at any rate, only one other cover that I know of the song. It's called Funny But I Still Love You, and I love that song. We closed the album with that one. So most of it, though, is brand new original stuff, and it spans the gamut from slow, what we call gut bucket blues, all the way to one which seems to be finding acceptance with rock radio.
Really?
I can't believe it. Never would have expected it.
Not going to complain about that, are you?
But I'm not going to complain about it. So that song is called Sometimes, and we're trying not to get too revved up too far in advance, because we want them to start really going at it when the record's available for sale.
And that's going to be May 5th.
May 5th. So right now we're kind of trying to hold them back a little bit because they want to be playing this thing.
Now, availability of the record will be where?
Well, it's an iTunes exclusive, so iTunes is certainly the easiest place to get it. But there are hard copies that will be available through Best Buys and all the normal sources.
Good deal. As I told you at the beginning, I focus a lot on, and I'll come back to your CD in just a minute, focus a lot on our generation, the baby boomer generation, people that were teens in the 60s and 70s, finished college in the mid-80s, that type of thing. And so part of my angle is to draw from the richness of our childhood and affect today's culture and society. So from a music standpoint, how would a 16-year-old Rick Derringer, if he were 16 today and having his band, the McCoys, what would he do different today based on today's industry, today's market? How would you be trying to make a living doing music? Or would
well, it wouldn't be a lot different. I mean, we were out there in the grassroots just trying to be a good band, and that doesn't change. You're not going to get anywhere if the band isn't good enough to.
That's right.
So the first thing you concentrate on is becoming a really good little band. And we then went out using that, got local gigs, as many as we could, and tried to find gigs with radio stations and things like that would give us a little more visibility. And that's no different. Everybody still has to do the same kind of thing in that respect. And obviously, the end result is that somebody will find you. The music business will find you. People have it a lot easier in some ways now. They can supply their music to download sources, iTunes just being one of them. But they, without a record company, can get their music out there and theoretically grow and become more well-known. So, I mean, that's the only thing that's really changed is the way, the ease of which you can get into the music business. In some ways it's easier now than it even was then. The music business still loves young people. They love young artists. From that point of view, that hasn't changed either. It's easier for a young person to get a concert record deal or even a place on American Idol than it is for an older person. That hasn't changed. So in some ways, I guess I'm giving a message of hope and blessing, because it's just all they have to do is be good, practice enough to be good, and the rest will come pretty easy.
So is there a guitarist today, new, that's really commanded your attention?
Nobody in particular. Not anybody.
I don't want to
in particular.
put you on the spot.
Not anybody in particular. I was going to say a couple names, but nobody in particular. In fact, the lead guitar has kind of been downplayed, and it's just more about the music and the songs than ever. Than ever. That hasn't changed. But the people are starting to find. I understand that the vinyl business.
Yeah.
Vinyl records has gone up over 30% last year, and a lot of that is specifically college kids, people with dorms, and they found that they don't just have to have earbuds in and only be by themselves. They can actually put a turntable in their room with speakers and play music, and other people can come in the room and all of them hang out at the same time.
Interaction, imagine that.
Yeah. So from that point of view, it seems to be growing more and more all the time.
If you were 16 today and starting a band, would you be doing the kind of music you're doing now? Do you feel like that was just what you were cut out to do?
Yeah, music has to be, reflective of. Every kid will find what the kind of music he likes. Mm-hmm. But they are finding, like I said, through the LPs and stuff, they're finding those guitar players. They're finding me, and they're finding Jimi Hendrix,
mm-hmm.
and Jeff Beck, and Jimmy Page, and all the music from the era mm-hmm. that we're from is being found, whether it's by young kids or college kids. Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero used Rock and Roll Hoochie Koo in its very second incarnation, Guitar Hero 2. So I was only one of the first 20 songs that were out there, mm-hmm. and that has given us a worldwide presence again, too. Mm-hmm. So that kind of stuff is making... And in fact, they accounted for 1/3 of the worldwide music business in the last few years. Guitar Hero alone.
Wow.
It's incredible, because everybody has one now. Their family has one. Some families have several
I
for
can't
different
play one
kids
of those
and
either.
stuff. But it's amazing what that has done for music, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, in our generation of music, it just stands. It can stand on its own, and people reach back to it as a foundation.
Well, it meant something special to us as a generation. I don't think it holds the same place. Music is viable, certainly, and kids mm-hmm. Will always go there. Music is always going to be something that helps people. Music is a different language, the language of our soul in some ways, the language of our heart. And that's not going to change. We are humans. As long as we have souls and hearts, then the music will be viable. And that hasn't changed at all. But like we said, the kids will find the music that they feel is important to them, and that's the stuff they'll do.
Now, you have teenagers at home, right?
I have a 16 and a 17.
And how do they... I mean, they've obviously got to think it's pretty cool that
they do.
Dad is a rock and roller and can show them a thing or two, huh?
They do. They do. My daughter really sings well, and as does my wife. Mm-hmm. And my son, he's turned into more of a writer. He's turned into a lyricist, so he's writing words for songs, and that's cool. So we're just, whatever they want to do is pretty much up to them. I try not to be the boss too much.
Now, I know you and your wife and your family do work together on CDs. Did your wife work with you on the Night CD?
The Knighted by the Blues, she's written about... we wrote 7 songs, our original songs, and I think 1 or 2 of them I wrote, 1 of them she wrote, mm-hmm. and the rest we wrote together. Super. So she's right there all the time.
What a blessing to be able to have her as part of your life.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the songs, the one that the rock radio is liking, she didn't even present that lyric to me. She said, oh, here's some stuff that might be good for the blues album. But that's not one of them. I actually was able just to go into her computer and pull up her song file and go through things, and I found that one that she hadn't even taken, that much of an interest in, frankly. Mm-hmm. But I just said, this could be really cool. So I took that one myself without even asking her and took it to the studio and turned it into a song which she was pleasantly surprised.
And you say you had your favorite studio. Is that one that you own yourself, or is
No, not at all. It's just a little studio in Clearwater, Florida, mm-hmm. that I really am very fond of. They have a lot of gear there that's not only vintage gear, the guitar players, amplifiers, guitars, things like that are there, but he also has a lot of his outboard stuff that you use, limiters and whatever, electronic gear, custom made for him, and it's just a little different kind of a studio than the big fancy ones. This is more of a
old school
personal
type of recording.
Yeah, in some ways that's right. It's just more personally. You're more in touch with the sounds, and you can. I find that you can get more of personal is the word. You get more of a personal sound out of this place than you would necessarily by going to the big cookie cutter kind of studios.
Right.
Called Panda.
Panda
Productions, Clearwater, Florida.
I'll be darned. How long have they been around?
I think a long time, but I don't have a good year. Over 10 years, that's for sure. Maybe 20.
When you were starting your first band, the McCoys, you were obviously in the Ohio area. And let me stop right there and preface the question with, saw you jamming 2 years ago with one of my favorite guitar players as well, is Phil Keaggy.
Uh-huh.
And I take it you guys are pretty good friends. And I discovered him 30 years ago, right after I graduated from high school. But you guys kick some butt together, man.
Yeah.
Did you guys' paths cross back when you were first starting out, since he's an Ohio boy?
I know, and it didn't. As a matter of fact, we just sought him out when I first started doing Christian music with my family. I came to Nashville to play it for some record companies and stuff, and I just set up some meetings with people in the Christian community that I thought might be able to give us good counsel, good advice. And Phil was one of those people, and he invited us into his house and introduced us to his family, and we got to know each other. And his advice was very good that he gave me, and then over the years now, we've gotten to be pretty good friends. He's really a great guy. He's a genuine person. He's a good Christian, and I've just grown to like his music, his guitar playing more than I even knew then.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's a great guitar player and a singer and writer.
Yeah, he does it all.
Yeah.
Triple threat. And if you don't want to share this, I'd certainly respect that. But what kind of advice did he give you when you were first scouting the Christian industry?
Frankly, he and Charlie Peacock both gave me similar advice, and they both said certainly it's a viable thing. It's good that you are pursuing that with your music. It's the first thing they reinforced that it's good that I'm doing that. But then they told me, they said the record business, the Christian record business, is probably going to leave you a little depressed. He said they both said the same thing. The record companies have been purchased. They started out as being a tool for people to go out there and witness for the Lord. And as they became more successful, the major regular secular record companies came in and bought them all up. And kept sometimes the presidents in place, sometimes not, but all of a sudden their interest was not to use it as a tool for the Lord, but to use the record companies simply like the secular companies, sell records, make money.
Yep.
And because of that, they're really out there looking for young artists, and they're not as concerned about the lyrics anymore. And they said these people will invite you in with open arms and tell you how big fans they are of Rick Derringer, and they'll be very nice, and they'll listen to your stuff, and in the end they'll go, but we're sorry, we're not signing any people your age. This probably is not going to be the demographic that we want to sell to, that's going to move the amount of product that we want to move.
How far back was that?
About 10 years ago.
10 years ago?
Yeah, about 10, maybe a little less, but approximately that much. And basically they turned out to be absolutely 100% correct.
Sadly so.
So what we do is, we just continue to do our work, our Christian music, and we sell it at places like this. I have 2 Christian records over there at the guitar show that I'm selling. We sell it on the web. We have them available through download sources on the web.
It's not over there already, is
Not
it?
yet.
Oh, man.
I wish I had it. I thought I was going to, but it unfortunately didn't show up.
Well, I'll download it when it's available. I'm going to hold putting this out there until that's on there, because I'll cover that as well.
But we don't pursue those organized record companies as much. They're losing their power anyway.
Yeah.
They really don't have. They don't understand. They're struggling.
I think it's going back to the way it was in the 50s and 60s when you had all the quartets and their buses and touring the South and selling records in the lobby table.
Yeah.
With the technology where it is today, I think it's reverting back to that.
In some ways, I think you're absolutely right. It's just people have to find their own way.
Yeah.
Like I said, but it's easy once you get out there to supply your music through the internet, and people are out. The audience that buys music is never going to change. It only gets more and more and more and more all the time. And especially in these kind of bad economic times, people will still buy. They call it the lipstick principle. And what they found is that in times of stress economically, and they use the lipstick industry as a guideline. As lipstick sales start going up, they know that that's reflected in a bad economy, because people will
Put
still
lipstick on the pig?
it seems like, but they'll still go out and spend for things that make them feel good.
Right.
Obviously, men aren't out buying lipstick, but the women will go out and spend money on things that make them feel good, even if they don't have much money. Right. And that can be anywhere from $40 to $200. It's not even cheap lipstick; it's expensive lipstick.
Same way with clothing too.
Yeah. And music is the same kind of thing. It doesn't cost a lot, and it's very fulfilling. It makes people feel good. So that has never suffered in these economic times. Concerts are not drawn as much because people that want to sell high-priced tickets, once again, people don't really have money to go out and spend for high-priced concert tickets. Yeah. But they will go out and spend it for people that are out there offering bargains, offering a good concert for a relatively little amount of money. The audiences will show up.
Well, don't you think, too, that for at least for our generation, if a tour is coming along that reminds them of their youth when times are better, that they might spend a few more dollars to go doing something.
Sure.
I mean, I can see where you would benefit from that as well, just because of,
But some people out there are just, some people don't need to worry about it. My friend wanted to take his daughters to see Britney Spears, and he went to buy the tickets, and he found that the cheapest ticket he could get, clear up in the nosebleed section of a huge arena, was $200.
Oh my God.
And all of a sudden, when he wanted to take his little girls and their friends, and he started going, it's going to cost me way more money than I want to spend. And that was for the cheapest ticket. Yeah. So, I mean, as long as she can command those prices, obviously they'll be still filling up those arenas. But those people couldn't go see the concert. Yeah. So it didn't help her with a few people anyway.
Yeah. Gosh, that's amazing. I'm glad my daughter's 24 now, so I don't have to worry about that. So in addition to your CD, what else? You've got some other projects going on.
Well, we've got more music projects we're working on. My wife and I have another Christian CD just released called We Live, and it's the whole family again. And I have another one that I've been working on in the can that's not out yet. We call that one High City, but it hasn't been released yet. It's still being worked on. I have a new project that I like to call the Santana prototype, or the Santana template, but basically it's where we're going to go out and solicit the help of a lot of great people. I would like to give you a bunch of names, but if I give you the names and all of a sudden those people pull out, then it doesn't look good. But really, the top of the people, the cream of the crop, the people at the top of their game, I want to bring them all in and work with them all on a project. So that's one that we're working on now, creating.
Well, with technology the way it is, you can just zip the file wherever.
You can do that, but I want to work right with people. I want to work with the best writers. I want to work with the best artists and work together. You can do that, but I'd like to be a more personal experience.
That's great.
And that's what we're doing.
Panda, right?
I don't know. This one would be recording all over the place because I'd go to them if it takes that.
That makes more sense. Yeah. So, more work with Edgar Winter by any chance?
We do concerts together still. I know I have something coming up with Edgar and Johnny in September. And that stuff's not going to change. Occasionally people want to see those three groups together, or at least Edgar and I sometimes, or Johnny and I together, and that's not going to change. Edgar and Johnny are Edgar's better than he's ever been, and Johnny's getting healthier all the time, so I foresee more concerts together.
How approachable are they? I'd love to talk to them sometime down the road.
Edgar's manager is named Jake Hooker, and you can find him in California. Probably Google Jake Hooker, and that's Edgar's manager. And Johnny's is Paul. What is Paul's name? Let me see if I can find it here. But they're both approachable. Paul Nelson.
Okay.
Paul Nelson.
I'll Google him.
And
he might be a little harder to find than Jake. Rick, I think that's everything that I have for now.
I think you got plenty.
If I have any follow-up...
you can always email me a question or something I could...
Sure. And also what I like to do is I like to send the finished product before I post it or sell it.
Do you have Skype?
I can
on
get
your
it.
computer. You should download that, because that, if you have a computer with a camera, you can make free calls to anybody via that computer.
Mm-hmm.
And if they also have a camera, you can actually see each other and talk.
Cool.
If they don't, you also can call from your computer to phones, and they're free. Free calls.
Okay.
Skype is a great service.
Yeah.
But
I've used it with the company I was with.
yeah, I love the camera-to-camera deal, and that's no more. Same free. Free
When
price.
I was waiting for you guys, I was sitting right over there, and a gentleman was here for the show, and we got to talking. He had this little Mac on his lap, and he said, well, I got to call a friend of mine. He asked me if I use Skype, and I told him the same thing. And next thing you know, he goes, see, this. He goes, I'm talking to this dude. He's in Sweden.
I know, it's unbelievable. And now the latest version downloads your phone book. If you keep a phone book in your computer, it'll download your phone book into the
Sweet.
Skype
Wow.
section, so you not only have the computer-to-computer Skype people, but you'll have your whole phone book there. You just scroll down to any number you want to get, anybody you want to call, and just click on their name, and boom, it calls.
Cool.
It's totally cool. Okay, well, thank
Got
you
it.
very much. I think I got to go do this other one
Absolutely. I
upstairs.
appreciate everything. I really
Thank
do.
you very
Thanks
much.
for your time.
Thank you. I hope we get it out there to a zillion people.
Oh, we
This has been another fun-filled episode of Boomerocity with your host and producer, Randy Patterson. The theme song is Roll the Dice and is recorded and used by permission from Quentin Hope. Quentin is spelled Quinten, and Hope is Hope. And you can find out more about Quentin at quentinhope.com. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerocity name, logo, and content is copyright protected. Segments may only be used with written permission by Boomerocity and or its assignees. Inquiries should be directed to input@boomerocity.com. Copyright 2025.